ones doesn't necessarily translate into good teamwork. Man, this discussion never ceases to amaze me. How many like insane 1v1 players have to become insanely good 3v3 players before people realize that the skills obviously transfer? Like, everybody focuses on, okay, this is an interesting discussion, I think, but everybody always focuses on the wrong things. The discussion I'm referring to, of course, is, does one skill translate to 3v3? Everybody says, well, yes, because sometimes you dribble in 3v3, sometimes you do 50-50s in 3v3, sometimes you do kickoffs, sometimes you take shots. So obviously those are skills you practice in 1v1, and whenever they pop up in 3v3, wow, that player's going to dominate. But what people fail to realize is those things are really quite small and inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Really, the most important skill to getting good at Rocket League is grinding the game. Now, what do good ones players do? What do players who got good at 1v1, who got really insanely good at 1v1, do in order to get really good at ones? They grind. They play a ton of Rocket League. That's what they do. Now, how do you get really good at threes? You grind. You play a ton of threes. So if somebody's capable of playing a ton of ones, and they have the brain that can learn the game quickly and effectively, and they can get good quick, or get high rated, or get really good at ones, they're probably going to be able to do the same thing with 3v3. It goes without saying. Of course, the skills are going to translate. Like if you just get the game, if you're just good at ones, you just get it, things just make sense. And threes is probably going to make sense as well, because it's just time. You just have to put the time in, and that they'll obviously be good at threes. It's like a no-brainer. Do you want to say take a really long time to say get good? Not really. Taking a really long time to say. People need to stop dissecting what mechanics are important from 1v1 when you're transitioning into threes, and start realizing that if somebody's got the ability and the willpower to sit down and grind ones enough to get really good at it, then they definitely have what it takes to grind threes and get good at threes. Because I feel like threes is a much more feel-good game mode to play than ones. Ones is so hard to grind. That's why nowhere near as many players grind it. Yeah, ones it's hard to grind because it's really tilting. If you've got the mentality that you can play ones all day, and like that is a place where all your losses are your fault. You can't blame that on a team. It is all to do with yourself. So if you're able to like look at your own play and analyze what you're doing wrong and get good, then you're obviously going to be able to get good in a threes environment where it's far easier, I think, to grind. You're not getting as punished and as stressed out by losses and tilted and stuff. People love to nitpick, people who haven't transitioned to threes, and they say, look at this guy, look at player X, look at player Y. They've been trying to qualify for RLRS how many seasons in a row, and they still haven't made it. Clearly ones is a terrible idea. But that's just such a bad example. Like, why would you look at somebody whose career is still ongoing and say, look, he failed, he didn't make it yet? What if they do? What if somebody who hasn't made RLCS yet is still one day going to be an insane RLCS player, and they started off in ones? It just takes time, and it always will be a bit random with open brackets and like single double elimination formats. There's no circuit to qualify for RLRS. It's a one-day thing. You show up or you don't. Yeah, you don't have to. You absolutely don't have to be good at ones to be good at threes. I don't see how somebody can think it doesn't help. I don't know how somebody could genuinely believe that being good at 1v1 doesn't help with your 3v3 game. It's so obvious to me that it will help you. So blatantly obvious. Now, I think if you're warming up for a threes game, playing ones is probably not the best idea for everybody, because it might get them in the wrong mindset and the wrong play style, get them into the wrong autopilot mode where they're just chasing more, not rotating as much. But you know, as long as you're not neglecting your 3v3 team practice, 1v1 is just going to be brilliant for your own mechanical ability, consistency. K. Fairy Scrubbo Khaled. Oh, the list is huge. The list is absolutely huge for. I mean, is there somewhere I can easily get a list of all RLCS champions? Okay, not even looking at players who have failed to win an RLCS. Let's just look at players who have won RLCS in the past and see which ones of them are good at ones and which ones are not. We're not even looking at players, or we're not even going to take into account players who maybe, you know, could have won an RLCS and are really top players. Let's just think about only RLCS winners. Okay, Season 1, Cronovi Lacinio over 0. All those guys at some point in their Rocket League career have been top tier ones players. So that's 3 players who are good at ones. Season 2, Marky, Cux, Greasy. Now this is a, you know, obviously Marky and Cux are going to be in the good at ones category. Greasy is a bit, you know, on the fence. He has got a couple of impressive ones results, but I'll definitely say that overall, Greasy is more of a player who's not a 1v1 background. Season 3, we had Turbo, Remco, and Devo. So 2 of those players are quite easy. Devo definitely has a successful ones background. Remco does not. The only question mark there is Turbo, because he actually, going way back in the beginning of the game, was in fact a very solid ones player. I'm talking way back. Like, I remember talking to Marky when Marky was the best ones player in the world, and he told me that he was actually he matched up with Turbo in a tournament in ones, and he didn't expect Turbo to be much of a challenge, but that he actually had to try really hard to win. So if you go way back, like pre like RLCS competitive scene really evolving, Turbo was actually probably a top 10 ones player at the time. Not many people will know that. But yeah, he was actually one of the, like, I used to talk to Marky Duda a lot when Marky was the best ones player in the world. Probably at the time the best player in the world. And he used to tell me what players would give him good games and what players wouldn't. And Turbo was actually one of the players that was difficult to beat. And if you go look at my YouTube channel, some of the first series that you're ever going to see on my YouTube channel include Turbo Pulse's sweeping Scrub Killer almost 4 years ago now. And he also swept Maestro, who was another top ones player at the time. So I actually do put Turbo in the good at ones category, because way back at the start he was in fact a very good ones player. So I would say like he's got some kind of 1v1 background there. Not many people know about that though. Okay, so Season 4, we saw Panda, K-Dop, and Turbo. We've already done Turbo. He's in there. We're not going to put him in twice. I'll put Panda in the not 1v1 background and K-Dop in the 1v1 background. That should be pretty obvious. Season 5, same team won again, so no additions. Season 6, we have Cloud9. So we have 2 players who are not really 1v1 background, Torment and Gimmick, and Squishy, 1v1 background. We have a 9-5. Then Season 7, we have Turbo again. Obviously, he doesn't get listed twice. We have Energies, Garrett, and... no, sorry, that's Season 8. What am I talking about? Season 7, we have Fairy Peak winning his first time, Scrub Killer winning his first time, K-Dot winning again, so that's 11 and 5. And then we have... I'm not listing K-Dot twice, that's why. We just go up to 11. And then last season we have Turbo again. We're not going to put him in a third time. Fourth time, actually. But we do have Garrett and Justin, who are not really one's background. So actually only looking at RLCS players, only RLCS champions, it's quite clear to see that the amount of RLCS champions who have some sort of 1v1 background is in fact more. This is so scuffed with the size. I'm just going to do this actually. Not going to lie, I didn't even know how this was going to end up when I started it, but it turns out there are in fact more RLCS Champions with a 1v1 background than without. So do you need to look any further than that? I don't think so. Garrett 1v1'd AJ a while ago and it was pretty funny. Now some of the players that I've listed in not good at ones is not entirely accurate. I maybe the inaccuracy here is me calling it not good. It should really say mostly say like threes background, you know, like purely threes background versus a you know, more of a mixed. But yeah, at some point in the past, yeah, I would say that 11 of the RLCS champions were really good at ones. Like a top 10 world ones player, potentially. Maybe the one that's not been a top 10 ones player is Over0. I don't think I would ever have put Over0 in a top 10 ones player category. But yeah, way back at the start, I would have put Turbo probably top 10 ones because he had some really big wins. He beat Scrub on my stream, beat Maestro. He gave Marky some tough games. Like, those are the best players at the time. Like, you don't need to do much better than that. He was just really good. Why not Over0? I don't think he's ever been top 10 in ones, but he's definitely been up there. He's definitely, you know, good enough to be in the ones background category. You can't put anything Over0. Isn't Jesse a world champ? One day, he will lift that trophy. Any tips for a gold player? I'm having trouble with basic mechanics like dribbling and wall shots. Well, if you're like saying something like I'm having trouble with dribbling is a little bit vague. Not entirely sure what your issue is. But the most important dribbling move that you're going to learn in 2s and 3s is actually just pushing the ball into a 50-50 and trying to control the 50-50 in your favor. That's the most important dribbling move that you're going to make when you're learning how to dribble. Just push the ball, and then when the opponent arrives, try and time your flip effectively. You're going to need good camera settings, obviously, to be able to do that. So just get some standard camera settings, something quite normal, like mine. Or like, you know, any of the camera settings that pro players use. They're all quite similar. Then you can have better vision. In terms of wall shots, well, if you're in gold, wall shots really shouldn't be a big part of your game at all if you're just trying to rank up and get good. I would recommend never jumping off walls in gold, pretty much. You don't have to. Just try to do wall shots like this, I guess. Like, this is the only wall shot that you should really be attempting in gold. If, you know, like I said, ranking up is your goal. Like, just try doing things like this, where you drive up to the ball and just... Actually, the ball needs to be touching the wall for this to work. I was going to say don't jump off the wall. So just try to do things like this. Boom. Done. Wall shot, you know? Don't jump off the wall. Just try to just hit it without jumping, you know? Because then your recovery is going to be a lot better. I imagine that lots of gold players are doing things like this. They flip off the wall and then they miss and they land like horribly and they're out of the game, you know? Try to instead, you know, just get good at driving into the ball without jumping. Because you're not committing. And you're going to get... You can do a lot without jumping into a wall shot. And in gold, that's really all you should be trying to do is like... Stat, that'll do, you know? That will do. Once you're good at that, you can start jumping off the wall to hit the ball as well. But initially, I wouldn't worry about that. Just like, try to get good at stuff like this, where you're just like hitting the ball up towards the goal instead of getting above the ball. Like, don't drive up too high and then drive down into the ball, unless you're trying to set up a dribble like this, which I doubt you are if you're also having trouble dribbling. Try to instead like come upwards into the ball if you want to get height on your wall shot, you know? Oh, I've got to close OBS here, I'm dropping frames. Like, try to, when you hit the ball, still be on the rise. Don't like do this where you're hitting it down. Try to do this where you come up towards the ball. You can hit it like up in the RC. Just like running before walking. Yeah, some people will be like, man, I'm really stuck in silver. My aerial game so bad. Help. I'm like, mate, why are you worrying about that? If you really want to get better at the game, just focus on the right things. I will say that once you do get good at just hitting the ball without jumping, the best like first step or the next step to add to your wall game would be to add side flips into the ball to your wall game, because they're quite easy to land. So in the exact same position that you would be at once you get good at just driving into the ball, just side flip into the ball instead. When you can't reach it by just driving, when it kicks off the wall too far like this, just side flip into it, because the car is actually going to travel off the wall and reach it. But like I said, first thing you want to do is just get good at just driving into the ball without jumping. And then once you master that, you can do the side flip version. Yeah, I'm not joking. For dribbling, just push the ball. Just get good at pushing the ball into 50-50s, because if you can get good at like getting behind the ball in 50-50s, then it's really hard for the other team to dispossess you. Like if you're struggling to dribble, if your dribbles are looking like this and you're like all over the place and the ball's just bouncing around, the other team are just going to come in and take the ball away from you, you know? So best thing to do is just make sure that they can't get the ball off you easy. Just get behind it and force a 50-50. Once you get good at that, you can start worrying about making out plays, you know? Start with the basics. Master the basics and then work your way up. Air dribbling silver is surefire way to concede a goal. It's true. You know, the Rocket League ranked meta is so much more aerial based than it should be, because that's all people practice and that's all people are comfortable doing. People just go into games and all they do and all they want to do is aerial and hit boomers. Nobody wants to control the ball. Nobody wants to pass on the ground. Everybody just wants to blast the backboard and hit aerials. So that's all people are any good at. Like you'll run into players who are hitting sick rebounds and sick aerial plays. And for me, this is like, you know, something they're probably way better than me at. But then I'll still beat them just because they don't know how to position and they don't know how to pressure the ball and they don't know how to just do the basic stuff. The things I consider basic, because they've learned the game wrong. Like there's a reason why my rank looks so much higher than my mechanical ability, is because on average it is, at least in terms of what most people think good mechanics is. Most people think mechanics is spinny aerials and stuff. You don't realize that actually, you know, having a good first touch and good ball control, good 50-50s and a good power shot is still mechanics. But if your, you know, aerial game is light years ahead of your ground game, then yeah, you probably have a weakness there. I see people who don't even know how to take a first touch to set up a dribble and they know how to do a ceiling shot. I'm like, bro, how do you know how to do a ceiling shot and you don't even know how to do a first touch for a dribble? Like, no wonder you're always going for aerial plays if you don't even know how to have any semblance of ball control on the ground or in other positions. That transition speed is neck breaking. For transition speed, just work your way up. Start off with a low one, put it a little bit higher. When you get used to that, put it a little bit higher again. When you get used to that, put it a little bit higher. Now remember that you guys are watching my stream in 60 FPS. My game is in 250. So my monitor is in 144. So for me, it looks a lot smoother than it does for you guys. On stream. It looks really, really fast on stream. But yeah, I think 1.8 is about the fastest I can go. When I go up to 1.9, it's like, I can't do this. This is like, that's like pictures. It's like I press ball cam on, and it's just a different picture. It's like literally, we're looking this way, and now literally, it just, without even there is no transition, it's just a change. It just changes from one to the other. It's not even a like transition. Whereas this, I can clearly see which way the camera is swiveling. It's the fastest I can make it without it getting completely unplayable. Yeah, 1.9 is brutal. 2 literally is just looking the other way. Look at this. Nonsense. Yeah, 1.8 is the limit in my opinion. It's the fastest anybody should go.